Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective. And this time we're delving deeper into the core concepts that form the backbone of this entire amazing journey. And I am your friend and guide, Siddhi Prad Bhattacharya. Let's now quickly delve into what marketing management's core concepts are. But before we do, though, we will take up a little quote from one of the foremost minds when it comes to today's contemporary marketing management, Megan Keeney Anderson from HubSpot and Watershed currently. And she currently is one of the foremost minds when it comes to marketing management thinking the world over and marketing strategy. And she says, don't push people to where you want to be. Instead, what you need to do is meet them where they are. That is the general jump that marketers must do today in order to ensure that they are able to get to consumers, get to their communities, and are able to interact with them in their native environment, giving them the comfort that marketing communications needs to create around consumers. So, first and foremost in this task, you'll need to identify who these customers really are. And so therefore, your brand or product, they may have a lot of takers, but finally, who is it that you have a direct connection with and a direct impact on? And they are the ones who will actually affect the brand's destiny. They will move first with you as a brand. And going further, what they'll do is they will take the rest of the cohorts of audiences and drive the momentum that will give you a certain final result. Which brings us to today's conversation, which is segmenting the market. You need to find your target customers. So now, how do you make sense of which customer you really want to reach out to? So companies cannot connect with all the customers in large, broad or diverse markets. What they need to do is they need to identify those specific market segments that are really effective and they can actually make a sense there. And these market segments require a keen understanding of who the consumer is, what their behavior is, and strategically, carefully planning things so that they understand segments differently, uniquely, and you, after identifying these, are going to speak with them individually, addressing their troubles, and that is the key to marketing success. You need to compete more effectively in each of these segments, and therefore many companies now embrace target marketing instead of scattering all their marketing efforts everywhere. And they're focusing on those specific customers who have the greatest chance to satisfy with what the offerings of the organization are. And therefore, in order to do effective target marketing for marketers, what you need to do is identify those specific distinct groups who differ in their needs and wants, and that's how you get your segmentation. And then out of these, you select one or more markets which you want to enter, which is the targeting part of it. And finally, for each target segment, you establish and you communicate your particular standpoint and deliver the right kind of benefits, what they're looking for. And therefore, you develop something which is called a value proposition. Once you're deriving that value proposition, you are going to make a stand for yourself, which is where the last part of it comes in, positioning. So with that in mind, we'll get into the details over this and the next few following modules, and we'll understand how to go about doing segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So in order to understand STP, like we spoke of, segmentation, targeting, positioning, what we need to do is we need to get into how to identify target customers, how to strategically plan and tactically execute that particular targeting. And today we'll look also into single and multi-segment targets. Here, let's first look at identifying who the target customers are. Now, companies, they have a lot of techniques to find out who these particular target audiences are for them, and they use a lot of variables to help define which are the smaller, well targeted customer groups. You need to understand specific instances of these customer groups and look at nuances which help you understand who they are. So, for example, banks, they segment wealthy retired adults by the kind of income that they have, the kind of assets that they hold, and how much are they willing to risk putting that money out there into the market. So, these are aspects probably in one way where you segment that particular audience. Going further, why is targeting important? What is its importance? Why should you do it? The logic of it. So, it helps companies prioritize customers because they need to know where will you actually be spending your marketing efforts so that you're maximizing your profitability, and therefore you optimize your offerings to that particular target audience. And it ensures that your marketing efforts are speaking with the right kind of people, and your leads who are coming into the system, they are better served, and hence customer satisfaction goes up and you get a competitive advantage vis-a-vis who else is there in the marketplace. And when you're doing mass marketing, you try a one-size-fits-all kind of approach where you're targeting the entire market, but that actually is very lossy. You tend to win some over, you tend to lose some. And in the effort to gain those people back, you're spending more and more marketing muscle, time, value, money, etc., which is best avoided. Now, differentiated marketing, therefore, helps you target multiple segments with tailored offerings at each particular level, so that each of these particular individual segments, they look at you and they see, hey, I had a question, these people have the answer, and hence they are the right kind of fit for what I am seeking. And one-to-one marketing, which is coming up in a huge way because of the digital era, you will have identified specific nuances about each individual and their complete understanding of what they want and where they want things in terms of the products and services that they seek. You are able to use big data, you are able to use analytics to address that kind of target audience at a unitary level, and are able to tailor make things which are suitable to their particular requirements. Now, why mass or why targeted? Like we were discussing, mass focuses on a broad appeal with a single product or message. So, it is like scattering all of your communication everywhere with one singular product and one singular kind of offering. It reduces your cost in research, yes. It reduces your production because everything is streamlined. All you're doing is going hammer and tongs, making only one thing. And your communication is also pretty streamlined because what you're saying to everybody. But then it works best only when consumer preferences are similar across the entire market. If it isn't the case, then you'll have to change gears. Here, you'll have to again identify distinct customer segments, and you will also have to find out what their unique needs are at a very, very individual or at least a small group level. Now, you customize your offerings to suit these different groups and are able to give the offerings which make sense to them. Estee Lauder, for example, markets different brands for diverse customer segments. So, they don't stick to one particular product across the entire market size. So, one-to-one and mass customization are also polar opposites. Here, each market segment consists of a single customer. In a data-rich economy that we are currently moving towards or are already in, this becomes very, very important. It requires a strong capability to collect that particular data, and your production should also be flexible to manage that kind of individuality. For example, Wagner custom skis create unique skis tailored to each specific buyer. Yes, the ski is the same, the base format is the same, but how each particular individual looks at their own personalized skis makes it a unique per person piece, which also become collector's items because there is no other which is created the way one is. And therefore, it combines mass production efficiency with individual customization. So, that is how it works in that individual one-on-one marketing segment scenarios, and it allows customers to feel that they own the product. They personalize those products while keeping the costs manageable also, because it's a little bit of tweaking and not very large in a way. A lot of brands have been able to do it at a very, very large scale. Example, Mini Cooper is one which has got a configurator and helps people define the way their car will look. Coca-Cola freestyle vending machines have been able to do that with names imprinted on cans. So names imprinted on cans have given people the ability to have their own personalized cans as well. So these are ways where particular brands, even though they have an offering which appeals to the larger audience overall, they're able to customize it to individuals at a particular one-on-one level. Now, why customization in services is important? A lot of players, for example, airlines, hotels and rental agencies, they personalize the experiences, especially if the audience is expected to be a high spending individual or a family for that matter. But that unit is supposed to bring more value. Hence, spending more time behind them, personalizing and customizing the experience for their benefit is something which the brand or which the company will want to do. Here, you will also see that political campaigns also go into that particular detail, and they customize the messaging based on voter preferences. Yes, they do a little bit of segmentation. They cluster people according to certain specific segments, identify that that one particular segment will have a certain kind of need, and then they push messaging out at them which meets those particular needs and therefore invites them into the fold. Social media platforms, a huge interactive changeover from marketing of earlier days, has also enabled this kind of tailored advertising where individuals and their specific needs are going to be met. So now, how does one look at this entire perspective and ensure that strategically you are able to look at a variety of offerings aimed at a variety of consumers and are tactically able to target it at individual specific or group specific or cohort specific output points. So here, targeting can be both strategic or tactical based on the kind of customer criteria that you have. So what is strategic targeting? It focuses on customers whose needs align with the company's offering. So already I've got a product, your needs align with mine. So therefore, I'm going to strategically approach you first. The idea of tactical targeting differs because it reaches strategically important customers, people who are likelier to spend more with me as an organization, and hence I will go the extra mile and do a little bit of customization so that my product fits better with your expectations, with your needs, with your desires. Both things are interconnected and therefore they are essential for customer identification, also going further targeting and addressing of their particular problems. Now, what are the goals of strategic versus tactical targeting? When you do strategic targeting, you focus on aligning the offerings that you have with specific customer needs, and it at times may also exclude some customers because these are the ones I want value from, these are the ones I'm going to focus on first, these are the ones who can come in later if at all. On the other hand, tactical aims to reach all strategically important customers and tries to do it in a cost efficient way. So hence, specific things which give a common minimum program and try and include as many people as they can, so that the marketing activity which costs one is able to reach out to a maximum number of people in the audience. Now, strategic and tactical targeting, typically they answer two very, very important questions for the marketer. So first they ask the who. So who are the customers and how can the company establish a mutually beneficial relationship with them? And on the other hand, how? So this is the other question. So who and the how. How can the company effectively reach these customers? Where do they daily spend their time? What kind of things are they already buying? What items do I put in front of them that will excite them? So, these are the questions which one must solve when one gets in that particular aspect of strategic and tactical targeting. Now, having said these things, let's go deeper into strategic targeting. Now, here companies typically what they do is they identify customers like we spoke of, and they find out that these are the ones we can serve better than the competitors. There's something which we have, which they want, and nobody else is offering that. And therefore, whilst we are doing that, these guys are most likely going to stick with us. They're going to spend more on us. They're going to spend with us and no other way. So, no other competitor gets a share in that particular wallet. And hence, we create that continuous value for ourselves. A lifetime of service or lifetime of product delivery can actually keep continuous business flowing in from that one particular kind of customer. This requires pinpointing the customer needs, and the company can fulfill this effectively because they have got their machinery, their production, their communication, their logistics, everything aligned to ensure that they keep on delivering to this particular kind of customer. And there is definitely, like we spoke of, trade-offs. So, here we choose to ignore some other customers and you choose to actually focus and better serve only one specific or a few specific kinds of customers here. So, that is what it means to be strategic about your entire targeting process. Now, how do you evaluate that whether your strategic targeting is working? You can ask a certain few questions. Questions like, can the company create superior value for these customers? So, hence you are differentiated, your products fit better, they like you more for it, they are willing to spend more with you and are going to spend with you over a longer period of time. Maybe if done right, they may get more of their own kind, where advocacy and brand loyalty come in. They get more of their kind to join that particular tribe of customers. And then, can these particular customers create superior value for the company? Yes. How? They spend more, they spend continuously, they are loyal, they get more people on board. So, all of these ways they are adding to the profitability of the manufacturer or the organization. The answer here depends on target compatibility. So, which means how well are your resources aligned with what needs to go out, and target attractiveness, which means how much value is the customer actually deriving out of the entire exercise. So, both things together, these entire set of questions help you actually evaluate how your strategic targeting is going, and therefore, you want to see who it is compatible with. So, your company's ability to outperform your competitors in fulfilling customer needs is where you see how your target compatibility is actually working. Various key resources and competencies can be built and they can be based on which you actually look at this. So, business infrastructure, do you have the offices, do you have the production capabilities, do you have the reach and logistics in all the geographies where you need to be, and are you going to be able to access scarce resources so that resources are never a problem? Do you have the necessary skilled employees to continuously, seamlessly deliver on that particular customer experience? Do you have the technological expertise to stay one step ahead of the competitor, to stay in sync with customer needs and demands and desires, and whether your brands are strong enough to weather any kind of storm, any kind of ill weather, financial downturns, economic upheaval, pandemics, logistical bottlenecks, wars, all the VUCA factors that we have discussed about. All of these things, they come in very, very handy here when you have a strong brand. Strong brands help you weather any form of a VUCA storm, and therefore, you also develop collaborations in your own network. You have the right kind of vendor, you have got the right kind of logistics delivery partner, you have the right kind of influencers who market your products for you. So, all these collaborations, they start making sense and they start giving you a lot of value as you go along. Here, you need to also understand that this and no more, which is what you will be doing. So, your core competencies play a very, very strong role in this particular space. you will focus on certain few things and you will excel at doing those things, is how you will create a competitive advantage from those core competencies. So, you will do a significant contribution to customer benefits, because the customer then automatically and completely trusts you to be able to deliver on those specific areas. And once you're done with one particular market, you can actually move it elsewhere. You can get into multiple other markets where that particular kind of demand is there. All economics, demand, supply. So, all of that works in your favor. You carry the product made in one particular market, make the other market familiar with it, and deliver the same results. Rinse, repeat. And therefore, it makes it difficult for competitors to imitate, because you may have patents, you may have certain processes, you may have strong brands like we discussed. All of these aspects help you stay clear and keep your head above water, come what scenario. And therefore, companies should focus on these specific core competencies and outsource whatever non-core activities are to trusted partners, which is what we also discovered in the previous slide about having the good collaborator networks that help keep your business alive and very, very fruitful. Now, how do you make it attractive? Target customers must also create that particular value for the company, because it's a two-way street. I give you a certain product or service which is beneficial for you. You give me value in terms of your loyalty, in terms of the amount of spends you're doing with me, in terms of the kind of people you're getting on board as a community, and how are you fostering the growth of the organization. The organization prospers, it gives you even better products, you prosper, and you get more people in. So, it's a continuous cycle. This way, what you need to consider is how much is the market size and what is the growth potential in that particular market. Is it going to grow? Are there more people coming in into that? Is the demand for that particular product or service growing? And are they going to be profitable? And is there long-term viability? So, I set up a factory today. Setting up a factory is a capital intensive process. Keeping a factory going is also very, very costly. So, I can't at will put a factory up and take it down. I need to have a long-term viability. I'm going to employ people who are going to manufacture those products. So, in that case, their salaries, their wages, their welfare, all of it has to be on me as an organization. So, once I do that, I am going to ensure that profitability keeps coming in, so that my organization also thrives. And that's why I will focus on creating customer loyalty. I'll ask you to be my friend, and I'll ask you to make me more friends like you, who I can also serve. And therefore, the community and the engagement within the community becomes extremely important. Now, with all of these things, there is a certain kind of monetary value for the customers. Here, customer revenues are to be looked at. So, what kind of market size we've discussed, growth we've discussed, buying power, where you as a customer, if you are growing, and you as a customer, if you are able to spend more, you'll probably buy more of me, you'll probably upgrade to the better product I have next lined up. The kind of loyalty, when you stick with me, I am rewarding you, you bring more people on board. And how much is the price sensitivity? If I jack my prices up a little notch, are they really going to make a dent in your pocket? If not, then are you going to stick with me or look at some other vendor or look at some other provider competitor? So, this is where all the competition and external factors also come into play. You also have factors which are not your specific competition space. For example, the economy, regulations, these are policy aspects from government, from the market forces, etc., which come into play and may have a role to play in your ability, in your destiny to be able to provide for that particular market of choice. And then there are costs which you actually incur when serving customers. So, if you're customizing, each time you customize, is there an added cost to it? If you're doing marketing, you're using up certain media burn, you're reaching your communication message out to people, you're ensuring that people fill in their details, you have their data on board. All of these things are important. Then there's delivery and logistics, retention. So, you are running loyalty programs. All of these things together, they are also costs which an organization must incur in order to keep the customers on board. So if you're spending, you must get value which is a few multiples of that particular investment you're making. 2.5x is typically an accepted minimum threshold. So if I'm spending $100 on you, I should be getting $250 minimum as a result of my activities with you. Now, there is strategic value of the customers as well. One, for example, is the social value, where if I am actually bringing you into the fold as a customer, your influence on potential buyers, which is where the advocacy bit we have spoken of comes in. Some of you may become opinion leaders and they may become trendsetters. You may become micro, nano, macro influencers. People like you may look up to you to ensure that you guide them on the right path to the right kind of product and service. Then the other part is scale value, where how big can I make the business? So therefore, benefits from operational scale. For example, Uber, Facebook, these guys, when they expanded, they were able to tap into more and more people, and hence their services just kept expanding, and that is how they are able to manage the kind of spends that they are doing. The third part to this is information value. So what kind of data are you actually parting with willingly? So that data provided by you is helping me mine for insights and making improvements in my product, making improvements in my process, maybe also helping me market better to you, maybe also helping me find better connects with brands I can collaborate with, influencers I can collaborate with, new markets I can enter, and therefore improve the overall profitability game. Now, here the opposite to this is tactical targeting, where we determine how and whom to target and reach them effectively. So these are the aspects we look at when it comes to tactical targeting. Here it involves defining customer profiles. So we create one particular kind of profile. We think that this particular profile works best for us. We then map anything and everything in terms of marketing aimed for that one particular profile, so that over time we understand how that particular profile will react to the kind of marketing and communications that we dish out. The aim here is to create cost efficient communication, marketing communication, and ensure that we continuously and very strongly deliver on whatever marketing and communication capabilities we have. Now here, when we are defining the customer profile, a lot of factors coming into play which help us define who these people, these so-called projected audiences that we have. We think that this is our audience, so we then start putting certain texture, certain features to that particular audience. So what are those features which could be considered? Demography, for example. So when you're looking at demographic factors, you find out how old they are. Are they men or women? What kind of money are they making? How well read are they or aren't they? And then what particular social class do they belong to? Are they the worker class? Are they the affluent class? Are they soldiers? Who are they? Are they farmers? So you try and find out all of these factors in terms of the demography. Then where are they placed? So this actually gives you a lot of understanding of how to reach that particular audience because of their location. And if they are moving, say they transit every day in a train going from the suburbs to the city or from one part of the city to another, then you're able to track them and you're able to communicate with them, whether it be through a social media message on their phone or through hoardings on their way from one point to the other. So you're able to define these points of communication through geographic factors. Then the third part is behavioral factors, where you find out what makes them choose or what makes them not choose a particular decision. And so therefore you look at purchase habits, you look at the brand kind of loyalty that they have and how sensitive they are to any fluctuations in the price of certain products. And finally, you've got psychographic factors. Now, psychographic factors are what kind of attitudes they have towards life, towards work, towards the social construct that they live in, What kind of value systems do they follow at home? What kind of values do they impart to their families? What are their specific interests? And what kind of lifestyle are they living? Because all of these factors define moments in their life which make it important to create something, and hence they desire something, or important to stay away from something, which creates the fear psychosis. And both of these points are where communication from a marketer helps them solve a problem. If they want to achieve something, their desires are being met, courtesy the manufacturer, or if they are trying to wean off something, that fear can be addressed, and hence the marketer again makes a killing, while obviously providing a product or service. So together we have got aligning of the customer value and the profile which they have created, so that we are able to bridge both the strategic as well as the tactical targeting part of things. For example, credit card targeting is based on travel interest and payment behavior. How well are you paying your bills? Where all are you traveling? And if so, then can I give you certain offers which makes you spend more, because I know you can pay up, and this kind of travel is business, this kind of travel is leisure. Which do you want to do? How much of it do you want to do? Which will you actually end up paying for by credit card? Maybe your office foots your bill when it comes to business travel, but for personal travel, would you want to swipe a card and get that particular pleasure out of it? It therefore helps you optimize the marketing outreach, whether you're sending emails or direct messages, or whether you're sending them a gift hamper at one point in time in the calendar year. All of these things help optimize the marketing outreach, the format, and the way you're able to get the customer to respond to you. All of these things taken together will give you the principles of tactical targeting. The one thing that you want to look at here is effectiveness, or ROI, that much used and abused holy grail of marketing, ROI, return on investment. So whether I'm spending money, I'm getting more than what I had paid up for, and therefore you're reaching all viable customers and making them aware of what you have on offer. And the second part obviously is cost efficiency, where you avoid wasting your resources, whether it be money, whether it be media, whether it be production, whether it be logistical outage, all of these things, and you don't target non-customers. So you sincerely and very, very specifically avoid talking to people who are not your customers, or at least you think are not your customers. So here you create those personas we spoke of. Personas represent these hypothetical target customers, and it gives you clarity for marketing strategies. You create that particular persona or aura, and then you go after that kind of people, considering them to be an audience. So brands, for example, like Sunsilk, they have created this KT persona, which is a girl who's 20 something with daily hair care needs. So this is the kind of audience that Sunsilk as a brand wants to address. There is Geek Squad, which is a tech provider and IT provider. They have identified somebody called Charlie. Now Charlie is a 50+ male who wants to use tech in his life. He is curious but needs guidance, and that is precisely where the brand fits in. Geek Squad fits in and solves that particular problem, and that guidance helps the man Charlie achieve whatever he wants in the IT space. Then for small business owners, you've got something like Lewis. Here they're looking to get efficiency, and they're focused tech users. So they are trying to build whatever efficiency in their business as they possibly can using tech, and therefore automating processes, ensuring everything is done in a certain way that reduces manpower costs, gets things done, lesser iterations and errors. All of these things are what small business owners will definitely want in order to increase the efficiency. So all of these factors are ways particular organizations or brands look at creating personas, and then how to go about targeting those particular personas. And which brings us to the overarching market targeting aspects. Here firms identify and target specific customer segments. So, you may have the entire market and there may be various segments in that particular market which may be addressable. You choose specific ones you want to, defined by whatever persona you have defined and where they fall in the market, and with that you are able to look at this specific areas and you do not choose to go after others who are typically not a direct fit, or maybe you have lack of core competencies too, and therefore you are able to address that particular audience space. Now, here there could be single segment targeting where you target only one particular customer group, depends on how much value they are actually offering you, or you can also have something where you address multi segments in the entire marketing mix, and so therefore you target multiple customer groups. Both ways it is possible. That is an organizational choice, and most of these offerings which organizations create are existing as part of a product line. So, you may have multiple products made from the same core competency, for example milk or coconut, but your offerings are defined for specific audiences. Some have a single segment marketing, whereas others may have an appeal which appeals to a variety of segments altogether. A single segment targeting therefore is where the firm focuses only on one segment. For example, Porsche, they are only looking at sports car enthusiasts. They are not looking at office goers, they are not looking at housewives, they are only interested in speaking with those people who are sports car enthusiasts. Volkswagen, for example, has a small car market mindset where they want small manageable cars, powerful, but they are friendly for use for the common people. People can take them, drive them around, park them nicely and neatly. All of these factors help Volkswagen do what they want to do. And then you have got the enterprise format where you have got low budget insurance replacement car rentals, for example, and these are very ubiquitous. Everybody needs them from time to time, and when they are traveling they definitely need those kind of cars to zip around the cities which they have actually gone to. So, they have got replacement car rentals wherever they are going, and because it is low budget, it is easy, you do not even think, you just pick it up. So, enterprise falls into that factor and does its business well. What are the benefits you derive from it? Deep knowledge of customer needs. So, you need to know to deliver better, and the more you deliver, you get knowledge to keep sprucing up your marketing capability. You have a strong market presence and you operate in economies through specialization. You differentiate your product, you keep yourself away from competitors by saying, hey, I and only I can do this. So, that gives you both core competence as well as differentiation capabilities. That sets you apart from competition. One brand we can bring into play here is Allegiant Air. What they did was they created something which gave them a very differentiated audience set, and the product also was aimed at that particular audience set. It is called a niche strategy. So, here what you do is, what their niche was, they wanted to create affordable non-stop flights from small markets to major vacation spots. So, vacations were their core. They had created a particular destination which is the vacation spot, and they had stop points across where they got flights coming in from. This was their model, and the entire thing was affordable. So, no frills, yet it was something which people could actually buy into, and hence you reached your particular destination. This avoided direct competition on most routes because larger airlines would fly from big city to big city or small city to big city and so on and so forth. They did something which was completely different from the grain. They charged for in-flight services. Yes, no frills, but if you want the frills, you can get them by paying. And they used to actually cross-sell vacation packages, so that if you bought once, you may want to buy again and in a different place for a better and different kind of experience. Also, they brought in certain cost-cutting measures. They owned used planes rather than buying new ones. and it reduces the flight frequency, because every time the flight is going up in the air, they're also incurring the particular cost for that particular flight. And they had fixed seat positions to cut the weight and the maintenance of those particular flights. Now, what makes for, we've spoken of a niche, so what makes an attractive niche? You have to have first and foremost a distinct set of needs. It cannot be an everyday, everybody kind of set of needs. And for that kind of need, you need people who are willing to pay a premium in terms of what customers you're going to tap into. They may be small as a group, but they need to be growing and they need to help make you profitable. Both these things are important. And when you're looking for this kind of space, you want low competition, which is typically called a blue ocean strategy. And then finally, you have specialization even within that particular space, and it enhances your marketing efficiency. You're able to tap into that particular kind of audience better than your competition for sure. And when you're doing multi-segment targeting, what typically happens is companies expand their reach over time typically. So hence, maybe they want to sell more of their product, and hence they are looking for multiple segments which may willingly buy that particular product. And so hence they develop the multiple viable segments kind of approach. You have unique offerings in each segment, so that one segment doesn't say that the other segment's same product has been landed on top of their heads as well. And this reduces the risk by diversing your revenue streams. So if one particular segment is not buying you, there are other segments who are still buying from you. Meanwhile, you can figure out what went wrong. Is there the new need for a new segment, or can you coax your erstwhile customers to come back and buy you? So both aspects can be worked out when you're doing multi-segment targeting. In this space, what is selective specialization? Now here the firm selects a subset of attractive segments. For example, white strips from Procter & Gamble, from Crest's toothpaste brand, they targeted who brides to be, and they also looked at gay males. Why? Because whitened teeth are seen to be a particular symbol of beauty. They seem to be a symbol of attractiveness. So that particular problem, which was solved by Crest white strips, gave it to these particular segments, and it's two very distinct segments, brides to be as well as gay males. And what the benefits from this were? They reduced the dependency on one particular segment, and it balanced the risks and revenue, and gave them the ability to continuously keep making more and more money. Now, what is the difference between product and market specialization? Now, when you're looking at product specialization, what you're typically doing is you have the same product. You've created one thing, it's a great looking product, great at its work, and you try and get it into different markets, so that each market gives you a little bit of purchase, some profitability and so forth. For example, there is a microscope manufacturer for universities which also sells to the government, and it also sells to commercial labs. Now, the risk here is that if, let's say, tomorrow new technologies come up which do the job of a microscope better, that may replace the product. But then if they are profitable and wherever they are selling, the money that they are getting is something they can turn into research and development funds. Once they do that, maybe they're the ones who are going to come up with the newer, more relatable product, and hence they're never going to go out of business. What is market specialization? On the other hand, here you're serving multiple needs of a single customer group. So you've got one customer group, you've solved a variety of problems for them, and you can actually charge at each particular point. For example, if there is a supplier focusing on university laboratories, they will solve their chemistry, they will solve their biology, they will solve their microbiology, they will solve their avionics. All kinds of labs are there within the organization, and therefore each particular university problem will get solved. And each time this happens, that particular vendor strengthens their reputation and the institute becomes more and more dependent and loyal on them. Now, one example of this is Hallmark, the cards manufacturer. Now, they've got personal expression products which appeal across diverse markets. What they did was they got the segmentation in a variety of ways. So, for example, Fresh Ink was one particular segment where they got young women. Simple Motherhood, where you targeted moms. Then they did segmentation along ethnic lines. So, they got nationalities Chinese, Indian, African American, Latino, and so on and so forth. And they also had charity linked greeting cards. These carried certain amount of money which is paid to charities. This was the company promise. So, people would buy those particular cards just so that they could help out charity wise. Now, technologically what they did was they got musical greeting cards which were an innovation in that particular space, magic prints which created interactive products, and they also had online e-cards and personalized mailing services. All of these things delighted customers and segments of customers wherever they were encountered. That is typically how Hallmark managed to keep and hold its particular stance in the market. Now, why do you keep needing to do all these things? Is you need to align your offerings to specific customer needs. Customer needs are the primary driving force. Whatever as a product manufacturer or as a services provider you need to do is you need to ensure all the while that those customer needs are front and center of whatever you're doing, and what you are creating in terms of your product or in terms of your services, you're aligning those to that particular set of customer needs. Firms therefore must match the product attributes to the particular customer value that they want to derive. The better it is matched, the likelier that the customer is going to stick with you and spend with you, hence increasing your business value and also adding to your profitability. At the same point in time, you try and avoid creating products based on pure play production capabilities instead of demand. I can make bags, so I am just making bags, but are those bags then getting consumed in the market? That is where the demand part comes in. So, this is critical to understand. This is something which marketers and organizations must also look at very, very deeply. Why? Because if you misalign, then you will have overlapping offerings competing for the same customers. This is called cannibalization. One product eating up its own sister product's market share, and then customers obviously are confused. They don't want to do anything with you. That's typically another space you need to be clear about. Success here requires a clear differentiation for each particular segment. I am doing this only for you, not for anybody else. Targeting is this large exercise which is important right at the outset. You segment the audiences and you're able to create whether individualistic segments or whether it is multi-segments taken at the same point in time. Important, why? Because when you're speaking with all these segments at the same point in time, you have to customize what you're telling them and how you're going to put it in front of them, and also ensure that they finally derive something which is of value to them. That segmentation then lands up in the next step, which is targeting, and therefore targeting helps you define that particular set of product propositions which you're going to put in front of them, and they're going to see derived value out of it. Hence, effective targeting is something we've discussed. This is the cornerstone of successful marketing. When you're trying to create marketing which is going to be effective, which is going to give you more value than what you invested into the business for, that is going to come from targeting. Now, you can adopt a single segment approach. You focus on a niche which we've discussed, and you can tailor your message according to that niche, or you can also have a multi-segment strategy where you expand across diverse customer groups. You don't stick to one, you go to multiple groups, and therefore businesses need to define how they are going to align their efforts with whatever market dynamics and brand capabilities that they currently exist with. So you have to look at your realities. Your realities are going to help you discover which particular path you wish to take. As a recall, single segment targeting offers deep engagement because you're working with one kind of person, one kind of customer, you're solving the problems. Therefore, you're getting strong brand loyalty. They stick with you, they do more with you, and they're happy with you. They get more of how they are in terms of other customers, and they also help you create that particular audience or community. And therefore, the positioning is cost effective, but it limits the ability to scale. You can only get one specific kind, and mostly you are happy with that. That is the extent of your entire enterprise. On the other hand, multi-segment targeting, it offers broader opportunities and more revenue streams, and here demands are higher because resource investment to create all of those capabilities is definitely more, and the brand needs to be adaptable. It needs to conform to all the requirements and needs of the various audience segments that it is catering to. Each has their own specific set of demands. So this is how you actually adapt to those specific areas. And finally, the choice between these strategic capabilities or these choices between whether you want to go single segment or whether you want to go multi-segment, it depends on what your business goals are. Do you want to have a brand loyalty with one particular set of audiences? You'll go for single segment. Whether you want to capture market space and therefore you've got a lot of production already defined, yes, you can customize for each particular segment. So hence you're going to go multi-segment, and that's why your business goals are critically important, which way you want to make the flip. And what kind of potential does the market have? Is it worthy to spend on? Because today they are, tomorrow they may shift to another product. If that happens, then all your investment will go down the drain. So you have to be assessing how well you are adapting to the market realities. And who else is there? So in terms of the competitive landscape, other players may actually throw a spanner or a monkey wrench into your works. How are you going to prepare better so that you are differentiated, your product offerings are better, you're more fairly priced, and the perception of what you can do is perceived to be better in the eyes of the prospective customer, and that is how you hold your space. The key to success here lies in balancing that particular focus with flexibility. You must have the flexibility to shift from one to the other if the need of the moment and the organization thus presents itself. So that is very important, and you need to understand when to concentrate on efforts and when to diversify. So whether you want to actually continue working on one particular stream or you want to add more so that you are able to expand that particular process and probably increase your revenue value streams, etc. So therefore, strategically what you need to do is you navigate segmentation, and through which you create those audiences, you define how you will target each of those audiences, and then you drive customer satisfaction. By understanding those audiences and by giving them what the customer needs are, you are able to maximize whatever spend you have done, returns on those spends, and you create a lasting market impact. So you are remembered for the kind of work that you have done. And that is very important, because if people do not remember you for what you have done, then there is really no point of trying and spending and expending monies, hiring resources, creating capabilities of production, etc. if the market shifts and you have no real say left in that particular space. So in this ever evolving marketplace, what you need to do is you will make mistakes, no problem. But you need to ensure that you quickly make your mistakes. The quicker you make your mistakes and the sooner you learn from your mistakes, that will help you get back on your feet very, very quickly. And that agility is something which you can use in targeting. And this isn't just a regular advantage. It is, in today's VUCA world, a necessity because things can change at the drop of hat. So, with that, we close this first module, and in the upcoming module, what we will do is we will discuss customer and business market segments, because there are both which exists, and customer market segments work differently, business market segments move a little more differently, and you will have to devise strategies and plans to address these in their own unique nuances and unique ways. So, with that, I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Hello, I am Professor A.K. Sharma and I teach sociology in IIT Kanpur. I am taking up a question, what is world population crisis? World population crisis refers to explosive growth of population which occurred during 1950s and 1960s. For millions of years, some people estimate that perhaps man appeared on this planet Earth 5 lakhs years ago. It took these 5 lakhs years for world population to reach first billion in 1820 AD, and that means that the population in ancient times must have been rising at rate 0.000 something percent per year. Now, in 1950s and 1960s in the world, you find that population started growing at rate more than 2% per year. This is what is meant by population crisis. You can imagine that if a population grows or anything grows at 2% per year, then in about 35 years time it can double. And obviously, particularly in the context of less developed countries, it had implications for poverty removal, for employment generation, for maintaining health, improving life expectancy, raising educational levels, etc., etc. The reason behind this population crisis was improvement in life expectancy or improvement in general health standards of populations. You may not be knowing, or you will be surprised to know that about 100 years ago in our country, life expectancy means average age of death or average age of life, whatever you say, of a newly born child was only 20 years, and today it has reached the level of 68 years. Much of this improvement in less developed countries occurred in 1950s and 60s, and therefore, with improvement in health, improvement in life expectancy or average age of birth, average age of death, and population started growing at explosive rates, and people started writing about this. This is population explosion, or this is population crisis. And now one can say that the period of peak growth rate is over, and from 1971 onwards, in the world as well as in our country, growth rate of population has started declining. Now, in India, you may like to know what is the current growth rate of India's population. Currently, India's population is growing at 1.5% per year, and the reason is that after sudden or unexpected improvement in health conditions in 50s and 60s, which led to population crisis, we find that today average number of children has also started coming down. So, there was a time when average number of children per woman was around 11 or 12, now it has come down to 2.5, and therefore, the growth rate of India's population has come down to 1.5% percent, and we can hope that in the future, means in the coming decades, even if nothing changes on the front of fertility or number of children, India's growth rate of population will decrease further and eventually come to a zero level, as said by the 11th 5-year plan of India. And now the major cause of high growth rate of population is not high fertility, but the age distribution of population. So, we have a high percentage of population at the younger ages, and that is the cause of high rate of growth of population. Eventually, when population of India will also age like population of other developed countries, our growth rate will start falling. Thank you. Now, we will meet in the future.